Dr. Ryan Truschelt with your Weather Tiger Threat Focus for October 6th. Matthew is a monster hurricane this afternoon with maximum sustained winds of around 130 miles an hour. Right now, Matthew is about 90 miles east-northeast of Fort Lauderdale, moving between northwest and north-northwest at about 14 miles per hour. Tropical storm force winds are on shore near West Palm Beach, but the good news for Palm Beach and south is that you are definitely going to be spared the worst of the storm. So yesterday I posed the question of whether Florida would see the worst case scenario or merely a very bad scenario. Today it seems like Florida might actually be simply getting the very bad option, as I no longer think that Matthew is going to be coming inland or even moving directly along the coast to the south of Cape Canaveral. The reason for that is because it looks like, based on water vapor imagery, that the Midwestern front might be moving a little faster than some of the models had it advancing, which could be beginning to erode the western edge of the ridge to Matthew's north. Whatever the reason, based on reconnaissance plane center fixes, Matthew has moved consistently at a heading of about 325 degrees today. Based on its 5 p.m. position, Matthew would need to average a 295 heading for its exact center to reach West Palm Beach, a 312 heading to reach Vero Beach, a 320 heading to Cape Canaveral, and a 328 heading to make landfall in Jacksonville. Now, it is possible that Matthew could bend somewhat back to the west, especially as looking at the current radar, you see something called a moat, or a well-defined calmer area between the outer and inner eye wall. That often precedes the inner core potentially weakening over the next 12 to 24 hours, and the outer core strengthening, which could, in turn, mean a couple of things are going to happen. First, you could easily see a wobble west that brings the center technically ashore in Brevard County, or north, as that reformation occurs. Second, Matthew's maximum sustained winds, which are confined to that small inner core of Category 3 or 4 conditions, might decline somewhat. However, at the same time, the radius of Category 1 and 2 hurricane force winds associated with the new, larger eye wall would increase in order to satisfy conservation of angular momentum. Therefore, the entire coast from Palm Beach to Charleston can still expect destructive hurricane force winds. However, for Cape Canaveral and south, as well as inland areas like Orlando, this is good news. The winds in the western half of the storm have been consistently weaker than in the eastern half today, and I think what that means for Orlando is that while you are still likely to see sustained 40 to 45 mile an hour winds with gusts to 60, between around 5 a.m. and 1 p.m. tomorrow, you're not going to see hurricane force winds, and that's going to make a big difference in terms of damage. Likewise, coastal areas south of Brevard County will have a shorter period of onshore hurricane force winds if the scenario plays out, which is key for surge impacts. On this track, I expect the very worst effects of the storm to be its powerful storm surge in the concave section of coastline between Cocoa Beach and Charleston, which also has a lot of low-lying estuaries and inland floodplains. So Daytona Beach, St. Augustine, Jacksonville, Savannah, and Charleston, watch out, because that broader wind field and the resulting hours of vicious onshore 80 to 100 plus mile per hour winds are going to drive up to 10 or more feet of surge your way beginning tomorrow morning as the center of Matthew nears or is just east of Cape Canaveral. These wind and surge dangers will continue into Saturday and early Sunday in Georgia, South Carolina, and southern North Carolina. If you are in a low-lying area in this vicinity, there is no way to safely prepare for that, and you need to evacuate, especially as 10 or more inches of rain are also likely in the coastal Carolinas through the weekend. In short, Matthew remains an enormously dangerous storm and could easily place on the top 10 list of the most costly U.S. hurricanes of all time, even if it technically does not make landfall. Finally, I'm going to take about 20 seconds to talk about the long-term loop that's showing up on most models now. After turning northeast and paralleling the southeast coast through Sunday, Matthew is probably going to turn east and miss the first trough, followed by a slow drift south over the next few days. However, it's going to be totally sheared out as this happens, so if it does reapproach Florida midweek, it would be as a weak tropical storm or tropical depression, just some additional rain, and not something really to worry about very much. I'll be back tomorrow as the storm is moving up the coast, and in the meantime, this is Dr. Ryan Truschelt. Keep watching the skies.